You're on.
Hi, I'm Jeannine.
And I'm Kris, and we are the Blue Fiber Tree.
And today we're going to talk about all things dyeing fibers, dyeing yarns, Kris's wheelhouse. But before I let her take over, because she has a lot to talk about, we're going to talk about the April schedule, because this is airing the last Saturday of March, which is the 27th.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about April's schedule. So April's schedule is on the 2nd. We have Rigid Huddle Weaving Workshop from 10 to 3. Oh, we do have a dye workshop. We have a hand paint dye workshop the same day on the 2nd from 11 to 3.
Nice.
And on the 6th, we have a hook along. And that is a 3-session, so it's a multi-class workshop. I don't have the project yet,
but it's coming.
It's coming, and if you give me a second, actually we do. It is the welcome sign sheet that was gifted to me by Kathy when the store was open. It's over there. If you want to grab that for me.
The pelted?
Over hanging by the tri-looms.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
This is why we have an assistant.
This is why we have our assistant.
Cameraman.
Yep.
Whatever he is.
So we'll get you that. We'll show you that. On the 16th is the Western Reserve Bob and Lace Group from 10 to 1. On the 23rd, I can't wait for this one.
I'm
April
a little worried.
23rd from 9 to 5 is our first ever one-day weave-in. It's going to be so much fun.
I'm so excited. I can't decide what to bring that day.
I know.
I'm already trying to plan.
I know.
I just don't know.
I've already got people who are like, okay, so I want to work on this that day, this, that, and the other.
No, I'm like, am I bringing my frame loom? Am I doing my rigid heddle? Like, what weaving? Do I want my tri-loom? Like, there's so much weaving, which we talked about a couple episodes ago.
But we have 8 hours that day of weaving.
Oh, my goodness.
So, so we're going to be doing that.
Oh, that's
and
fabulous.
then on the 27th, we have our basic needle felting workshop. So I try to do those once a month from 5 to 8. So you have an opportunity to do needle felting. This is the hook along project right here.
Yes.
So this was a gift from Kathy Arnold when I opened up this new location, and a lot of people said they wanted to do this.
Isn't this fabulous?
Yeah, so this is what we're going to be doing.
Look at all the texture. Like
you're going to be getting a lot of this yarn is included along with the backing, and then you have an option of providing your own fibers and yarns for the rest of it, or she's going to offer a kit that includes all the rest of the fibers.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
You have choices.
No, I love that.
So it took us a while to talk this one out because of the expense of the fiber,
Right.
But you have options. You can either find it yourself, or she will provide it for you, and you can let her know that first evening, if when we come back a month later, if you want the rest of the fibers or not. Okay.
No, I love that. And I like that it's a multi-class project, because let me tell you, I do love this.
It just takes a while.
It just takes time. Like, you have to be patient. It's one of those things, work on for a little while, then put away, then bring it back out a few days later.
So when we start, we're going to start with the sheep. We're going to start with that first.
There you go.
And then she'll talk you through the rest of it and come back and start with the rest of this, and then fill in with the background. And if you want to put welcome, you can.
Well, why not?
So,
this would welcome anybody.
Absolutely.
Happy sheeps.
So that's our schedule for April. So so we do have a hand paint dye workshop, which is April 2nd.
That's awesome.
Which is actually
what?
The following weekend. So this is airing on the 27th. So it's that next Saturday.
Oh, awesome.
First Saturday in April.
That's great.
Yep.
And so before I get into anything that I'm going to talk about with dyeing today, she was just talking about the hand painted class that you guys offer at Longtail Knits.
Yep.
Kathy Arnold does do other dye classes,
Correct.
Not just the hand painted class.
Right. There's actually 3 total. There's immersion, which can be yarn or fiber. There is the hand paint, which can be yarn or fiber. And then there's the speckled workshop, which is yarn only. So those are the 3 different dyeing techniques that we offer here in the store that Kathy Arnold teaches.
That's awesome. And they're all about 3-hour classes ish, right in there?
3 to 4, but
okay.
think that you're going to be here that extra hour just because it depends on how many people are here and how long it takes to actually heat set your yarn while you're here or your fiber. But other than that, so those are the ones that we offer here in the store. And that's awesome. How we got into dyeing.
It is. Kathy actually gave me my foundation in dyeing with, we started with dye classes at the farm, right?
We did.
Because I don't think we did any in-store dyeing at the old location.
Not in the beginning.
Right.
We did not. Well, actually, we didn't do any at the old store. It wasn't
it wasn't until here.
Because we didn't have room.
Like, it doesn't feel like that much time has passed. But yeah, so we started with classes out at Kathy's farm out in Hudson, Ohio.
Yep.
And
the first one was on a Sunday,
so much fun,
so that I could participate. And this was that. You've seen this before in other.
Because this is one of my favorites.
This was at the spinning. You saw this for the spinning.
Because I keep trying to steal it from her, and she won't give it to me.
I spun the fiber, and then I took it with me for that dye workshop, and I dyed it that day.
Absolutely.
So that was my introduction to dyeing at the farm with Kathy.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. And so most of you know that alk&me, specifically, we are an Ohio-based indie dye company.
Yep.
And we dye everything we can get our hands on that's fiber related. And I keep saying we, and it is right now just me, because the other part of we is doing his PhD program. And yeah, Alex, I'm talking about you, buddy. And he was supposed to kind of be my right-hand guy, and if he ever gets his PhD, maybe I'll drag him back into this world a little bit.
He did help in the beginning.
He did.
He did.
He helped me get a really good grip on some formulating and how to keep track, and we'll get into that in just a minute. But so mostly we are an indie dye company. We do some kits for knitters, and we do some kits for spinners. I also do some tapestry work, some wall hangings, some triangle shawls. So there are sometimes you'll see some things for sale that are not like, oh my God, hey, this is something I dyed. Sometimes it's something I made. So there's a little bit of both of that going on, and it expanded into that world accidentally, just because I just kept growing and there became a need for it.
Right, and what you're going to find in the store are the yarns and some of the kits for knitters and spinners.
Yes.
You're not going to find the finished items are not going to be in here. You're not going to find the roving or any of the other products for
none
spinners
of the dyed
in
locks.
here.
Those are all on my website on alk&me.com. It's alkandme.com. That's where you'll find that stuff, or when I'm at a fiber show.
Yep, because right now there's not room.
There's not. There's just
there's no room.
We can't grow any bigger. There's not an empty space next door, so I can't knock out that wall, and I kind of like Brandy next door, so she'd be real upset.
You know, it's only been a little over a year and we're already saying there's no room.
We're already saying there's no room. I know, but that's a good thing. That's such a beautiful thing. But so yes, so we do so much stuff with dyeing, and those of you that have been around me for a while know that I have only really gotten into the dyeing over the last few years. Again, started with Kathy Arnold, and then took some classes with Natalie Redding from Namaste Farms.
Really, it's only been like 2 years.
God, it feels like forever.
About it.
I know. Oh my God,
it really feels. Really got serious about it.
Yeah, because it started. It did just start with taking the couple of classes every summer with Kathy, and I was like, oh, this is fun. This is fun. And then I kept taking stuff with Kathy. And then I think once I took Natalie Redding's class, I just kind of went, oh, I have to do this.
Right.
So one of the things that I've been gearing towards with alk&me, and part of it required my husband and getting him convinced that I needed a studio outside of the house, because I have been working in an extra bedroom for quite a while that I outgrew 2 years ago.
Yep.
So this past fall, we had a barn put in. which we are getting ready to run electric and gas and water and insulate and all of that. So we will be moving forward with our goals and ambitions. And this summer, I'm going to start teaching dyeing.
Yep.
I do a different technique than Kathy.
Mm-hmm.
So my classes are not offered at Longtail Knits. That is Kathy's domain here in the store. But I will start teaching what I do outside of the store at my barn, at my studio. I do kettle dyeing. Like I'm in love with kettle dyeing. It is not how I do all of my dyeing. Some of those secrets will have to wait for a class that you take from me.
Yep.
But I want to talk first about the first class we're going to do. It's going to be June 26th. It's a Sunday from, if my brain remembers correctly, 10 to 4, I think is what I have. I think I have 10 to 4 because we have like a half-hour break in there. And it's actually 2 classes in one.
Correct.
So we're going to be doing a Foundations of Dyeing class. I am a big believer in education. Everybody must have a solid foundation.
Right. So that's about an hour, right?
Yeah, about an hour for that class.
It's classwork. It's bookwork. It's just learning.
Yeah.
You're not going to do any actual dyeing.
Yes,
Maybe.
but no. Yes, but no. It's not.
So,
we're not doing real dyeing. We're doing fake dyeing. But you'll understand when you're there.
It's just getting you that foundation of color and dye and what to expect
and how to mix your dyes.
Yeah, you got to talk it
like
through
if
first.
you don't understand, like the thing that I have found talking to other people that are not indie dyers, like people who are just beginning to learn to dye, they really, really, really struggle with formulations.
Yep.
They were never taught properly, and I don't mean from Kathy or anybody, just in general.
From everything
they've seen on YouTube or other classes. A friend of mine took a class that just like they went and they dyed stuff, but they never learned how to actually mix their solution.
Correct.
So for me, it's very important that you understand the appropriate way to mix formulations. Like you need to know how to mix your solutions. It's important that you understand how color works and that different pigments have different weights. You might not think it makes sense, but it makes total sense when you actually start the implementation of putting dye on some sort of fabric. Different colors strike differently at different temperatures, and you need to understand the whys and the why nots of those.
And not necessarily fabric in the sense of a cotton sheet. We're talking fiber.
Fiber, like yarn and roving and anything we can get our hands on that's fiber related. So the first part of the class is about an hour, and that's the foundations class. And then the second part of the class is an introduction to kettle dyeing. Now, what we will do in that it's about a 3.5 hour session. We're going to learn how to do solid colors and also some tonals. And I know some of you are like, oh, really? Well, listen, you have to start somewhere, because if you don't start that, you don't understand. And you think dyeing a solid skein of yarn, one color, you think it's going to be, I'm going to have you hold that. You think it's going to be the easiest thing that you have ever done in your whole entire life? Oops, and I'm dropping stuff. And I'm here to tell you solid colors are not as easy as you think they are.
No.
Because different areas of the pan are hotter than others, because who knows, because of how you mix your dye solution or how long you left your yarn or whatever in the kettle. Like, getting a solid is actually not an easy thing. So you need to understand how to get a solid tone before you ever move on to anything else.
Right. I don't think these are my color.
No, for some reason I'm trying to show Christmas in March, but I really love, I love my sparkle yarn.
Yeah, this is
but
sparkle.
That's one of my favorite reds. I think that's Radon. That has to be Radon.
Yeah.
No?
Paranex.
Oh, that's my new one. That's my new red.
This is a nice one.
That is a new red that I just started doing. I thought that was Radon.
You ready for this? Krypton. Not Kermit. Krypton.
Yeah, so you'll learn how to do the solids, and then in tonals, you can just set those down. Now, tonals are fun because you can see we have a variegation in color, but not a multi-variegation in color. And it starts from something more solid with in depth and comes into lighter. And then the same with this. And this is one of my favorite colorways I do. This is called actinium, and I love it. It knits up so beautifully, and it weaves up so beautifully as well. But and there'll be multiple colors that people can choose from in the classes. But that first class, it really gives you an understanding of kettle dyeing, and all of that. So that is June 26th. Check my website, alk&me.com. Watch my Facebook page, alk&me, and you'll see the event posted up there. Message me. There are only 10 spots available because I am not going to overcrowd my class because I want to make sure that everybody there is going to learn.
Yep.
I'm very, very, very excited. With that being said, everything that you need to take the class, it's going to be provided for you there. You show up, bring yourself. Okay, that's all you need to do. You will have writing materials, you will have notes that you're taking home, we'll be making some swatches. I have all the equipment you need. God help me, my house is crammed with it right now, waiting to go into this place in the barn. But I want to just give you guys an idea of what it takes to do a class. I've seen a lot of dyers. I know when they set up in the store for classes, they've got the long tables covered. Sometimes they've got individual trays for people. You got to protect your area. And I hear all over the place. Some people use their kitchen. Some people use their laundry room. Some people like me are building a barn. Wherever you're at, you need to protect the surfaces of the spaces where you're at. If you are somebody who is dyeing in your kitchen, I'm going to be very honest. That is where I do my dyeing right now. I don't like it because I don't think that it is something that should be done. So I'm a little bit of a hypocrite, but I don't have another option until I get out in my barn. I don't like the cross-contamination.
You have specific things that you use for dyeing that are separate from cooking.
They are. I don't. I some people will say they don't care, and okay, I care. I'm sorry.
You should care.
Everything that I use for dyeing never gets used in the kitchen for food, and all of my surfaces, minus my stovetop, every single solitary surface is covered with the most interesting things. So I got a gift.
She did.
Of these bed mats, right?
Yes. They're like the protective pads.
The protective pads.
People who have incontinence kind of thing.
And I mean, sounds weird, but I try to do everything that I can to use things that are reusable.
Yes.
It's very, very, very hard. So my other career that I do hair. And in the world of hair, it's very hard to use things that we can use again. I mean, color bowls, color brushes, yes, but once we use a foil, well, we're not reusing that foil. So there's a lot of waste in that world. The tubes our colors come in and things like that. So I try very hard in this world of dyeing to use things that I can continually use.
Correct.
And these are great because these are washable. So my surfaces in the kitchen, the counters are all covered with these very thick blue ones because there's nothing getting through this. I'm not dyeing my countertop. I'm not leaving residue from dye powder on my countertop. If I spill, well, the only thing that happens with that is when this mat gets a little wet, and if it's hanging off the edge of your counter, you do get a puddle on your floor. I have found that out. So, and then the other type of the mats, they're plastic backed, kind of like a nylon backing, but it has the cotton top. And this one I usually fold up and set right next to me on my stovetop where I set my dyes, so that it's literally, I kind of am double protected over there. And I like it because it's soft, and I'm going to show you what I store dyes in just a moment. So I protect the surfaces with that's my first thing that I do when I'm setting up. The other things that you need to make sure is if you're using something other than a pre-mixed dye, and I say that because some people are out there dyeing with Easter egg dyes and tulip dyes that are pre-mixed and Rit dyes which are pre-mixed. Different story. once a dye is in liquid form, you do what you want. When that dye, do you have the, okay, so this is jacquard dye. And this is, yes, you're all familiar with what this is. We've been wearing them for a long time. So I have two types of masks. My other one I didn't bring with me because it's in the depths of my art room somewhere. I moved everything really, really fast and I couldn't find it. So I do have an actual, like, legit face mask that nothing is getting through. But when you can't find that, this little buddy is going to be on your face while you're mixing your stock solution. Sounds silly, you look silly, but you really, these particles are very, very small. And I'm going to show you, but I'm not.
They're powders. So the jacquard dyes, these are the same dyes that we sell here in the store. This is an 8-ounce container. I do the half-ounce containers here in the store. They're powders.
They're powders. You can inhale this.
Yes, and you don't want that in your system.
You do not want this in your lungs. So always protect yourself. Some people will die forever without a mask, and that's their choice. I just want you to be protected. And when you're at the studio with me, the day we take the class, while we are mixing, I will have these available, and I would ask that you please wear them for your own protection while you're with me. So you'll need to make sure you have a mask. These are your best friend, whether you realize or not. Now, if anybody can find the ones that go all the way up to the elbow, man, you want those.
The mad scientist ones.
I need the mad scientist ones, and I'm still looking for the long ones. I have yet to find them.
You might have to get the animal ones that the vets use.
With as often as I'm at Tractor Supply, you think I wouldn't find those yet.
Yeah.
All right, anyway.
Thank you, cameraman.
Thanks, Bob. So these are a lifeline because you don't realize, like, those yarns in the kettle, they're getting hot. Things are getting hot. Mm-hmm. And without these, that is not fun. Now, I have these little guys, which, yeah, I know they're not reusable, but I do reuse them. I'll be very, very honest. I have let them dry out. I take them off inside out, powder the outside, and we go, powder them before I take them off after I dry them, and I pull them off and I use them over and over and over until a hole goes. And once a hole goes, then my hand is blue. Yep, I look like a Smurf. So these are my backup for when that's too bulky for my hands with something I'm doing. Because sometimes I'm doing detail work when I'm doing a variegated color, and I have to be able to move and manipulate, and those gloves get harder to work with. Everybody needs tongs because you should not reach your hand in a pan. You should use your tongs.
So, just a quick question.
Yeah.
We don't use boiling water, so just standard tongs are going to work. Now, is there a reason why this has rubber on it opposed to metal?
So I have metal ones home at 2.
Okay.
So what happened was these used to belong to my kitchen.
Yep.
And I couldn't find my solid metal ones. And I opened the kitchen drawer and went, oh, we have 4 of those tongs. Stealing that for me.
So really, it doesn't matter if it
doesn't matter if it has silicone or not. I just needed an extra pair because,
And these are going to become metal pretty soon because the rubber's coming off.
They're well loved. They're well loved. So you need the pair of tongs. Measuring cups are your life. Doesn't seem like they're going to be. These are awesome. I have a 1/2 cup and a 1/4 cup that I use religiously. And usually, honestly, it's when I'm measuring vinegars. You are not measuring powder. Because if you're using a 1/4 cup of dye, you had better be dyeing massive amounts of fiber. Okay?
You better have that big vat.
Yeah. Okay. So, measuring cups like that are absolutely a need. And then I have, it still has the sticker on it.
That's
I know.
So this is a 2 cup?
Yep. They're both 2 cups. They're both 2 cups. I just have reasons why, like, I use this when I am measuring dyes that go in my solutions. And this is a secret that I'll tell you later.
Okay.
Because they do get used for different things. And that's why this one's glass and this one's plastic. But you gotta take my dye class. Sorry. Love you, and I'll share. Now, originally,
you want to do the rest of the measuring?
When I first... Oh, measuring. All right. I'm going to be very honest. I have these. I use that one. I don't ever use those.
Okay.
I use a 1 tablespoon and this metal. I don't know why, but I really, really love. I have a 1 tablespoon in metal too. These are my favorite. These not so much with the plastic, but you will use a tablespoon and you will use like a half a teaspoon at times. They each have their purpose. I have a whisk, and I was told to get a whisk. And I'm be very honest, I have yet to use the whisk.
Okay.
But I have it. I was told to put it with my dye kit 2 years ago. If I ever figure it out, I'll let you know. But it's in my dye kit.
Okay.
This little bad boy, really important tool while you are learning. I don't use it a ton now because I have learned to read my pots. And for those of you that have never kettle dyed, you will not understand that phrase, all right? But you will someday learn to read your pots. One of the biggest mistakes, oopses, that I see when people are dyeing yarns and fibers and locks and all of it in a kettle or in a tray is that they are allowing that water to fully boil. And what's temperature of boiling water is what, 212?
210, 212, somewhere around there.
I feel like it's 212. It hits 212, you are scalding the snot out of your yarn. So you have to understand dye has to have a certain temperature to strike and strike fully, but too hot hurts your yarn. So there's a unique balance that you have to find with that. So this little guy that measures the temperature of your water, thermometer, we're good. I started with little chopsticks, wooden chopsticks. And if you don't want to invest a whole lot of money when you first start dyeing, these wooden chopsticks are awesome. And I just went and saw Patrick over at the Chinese restaurant and went, I need wooden chopsticks. And he goes, okay, here. And he handed me a ton, and he didn't even make me pay for them because he likes me. But usually they will give you a set of these for 25 cents, 10 cents, depends on what area you're in and how much your Chinese food guy loves you.
And there's 2 in a pack.
Which I still to this day can't.
I've never.
But I try.
Use a fork.
So chopsticks are a necessity. And you don't think they are, but they are. But I have graduated and grown up. These are legit. And they're long. Okay, and this does me a lot better good. Let me see, one of those than this. Okay, these are on Amazon, and I'll put a link in the little comments below so you can find these. I use these every single time I dye. I don't care what I'm dyeing, every single time I dye. I use them to stir, I use them to push dye, I use them to push yarn, I use them to push fiber. I use them
just to separate stuff.
I bounce them like this when I'm thinking. So I use them all the time. Okay. I have like, I don't know, 80 pairs of them because I have to have them for when you guys come and take my dye class. Other things that you need. Plastic spoons. These help you when you're measuring your dyes. And they also, because they're clear, please don't get the white ones. I mean, you can, but clear is better because when you're checking water when you're dyeing, you can see what residual dye you still have in your water better with clear. These are washable, reusable. I bought a box of, I think 200. Yeah, I still have 198.
These are the original 2.
No, because I stepped on 2 of them, which by the way, when they break,
they shatter.
Yeah, they do. It's really great. To put your dyes in. This is a very mixed bag, okay? So, restaurant supply companies, GFS, I think there actually is one called Restaurant Supply. Yep. Costco might even still have some of these.
And then
these squirty bottles are an option.
What's that restaurant place over on Rockside?
That's the one I'm thinking of, Restaurant Supply, right?
Yeah, but it starts with a D, Dick's, Dave's, or something.
Oh, I don't know.
Over there.
But these are an option. I love them, hate them.
Yep.
And I'm going to tell you why I love them, hate them. This little bad boy. Okay, great. Fill it up. Put your solution in. Put the little bad boy back on. While that water is hot, because I don't use cold water to mix my dyes, that bottle is hot. So you got to wait a minute before you can really be picking it up and using it. And that drives me crazy. But also, sometimes some of these leak right around here. And while that doesn't bother me when I'm doing certain techniques, when I am trying to make a very exact variegated color and I put green where I'm not supposed to put green, it becomes a whole new yarn, because then it's a whole new formula, because then there's green where there's not supposed to be.
So we have that bin of oops.
Yeah, there's a bin of oops. My favorite is the good old-fashioned mason jar.
So is that a 32-ounce jar?
This is a 32-ounce jar. Now, with using mason jars, they're glass, they're heavy. They will break. Trust me. They won't break from the boiling water that you put in, but they will break when they slide out of your hands and crack on your floor and turn your whole floor blue. Yep. Ask Craig.
Experience.
He'll tell you. I'm kind of mad because one of the things that I forgot, and I'm mad because it's actually a very important tool for dyeing. I have these huge syringes. They are plastic syringes, and I use them 70% of the time I dye. And I'm going to move this here because I don't want to get dye on our white cloth. But I will put that syringe into my jar, because if you're trying to pour dyes from your jar onto your work area, you don't have control over how much dye you're putting in anything. And with a mason jar, great, but with that syringe, I pull up exactly how much dye I need for the formula that I've created. Be that 60 milliliters, 70 milliliters, 100 milliliters. I have ones that are just 60 milliliters, which are kind of smaller, easier to handle. My 100 milliliters take both hands. It's a stretch sometimes. Takes more shoulder muscle than you think to use one of those syringes. But then I have control over my formulas.
Right.
So mason jars, the syringes, I will make sure there's a link to the syringes that I got, because I got mine on Amazon. Mason jars.
And you had a lot, and they were cheap.
They were. I think I bought the fat ones, in they had them in sets of 6, which three fat ones with 3 skinny ones, maybe $6.99, like $5.99, something like that. So they weren't that bad. But the syringes are very important.
Dixie cups.
Now, we're gonna have a little chat, because I just used the words reusable. And you're seeing a Dixie cup that's not reusable. However, for me, they are. I brought empty ones because I have used the same 50 Dixie cups for a year and a half. I get a Sharpie marker, and I write my color that gets mixed, that I'm using the dry powder in. And you're going to laugh, but every single time I use these, so let's say I am looking for Jacquard Sky Blue, I am doing this. I am dropping my Dixie cups until I find Sky Blue. Oh, that's Sky Blue. Okay, great. I move this guy, I set it down, I lift this guy out of it, I put this next to that, and I use my Sky Blue, and when I'm done, this guy goes back here, and this guy goes back here. Because Dixie cups, on the appropriate scale, which everybody needs if you're going to mix your dyes correctly, a Dixie cup fits perfect. This is a jeweler's scale, by the way. They're like $20 on Amazon. I'll put that in the link. This little cup, I think I need a new battery, sits perfect on the jeweler's tray. Now, the jeweler's tray does come with these little bitty things that sit on the scale, and they don't work. Don't do it. You'll spill dye all over the place, and you'll be really mad when you're wiping powder down for hours and hours and hours. But Dixie cups in this, lifesavers. You don't understand it. You think I'm lying. But I bought 1 pack of Dixie cups, and I still have them.
So, funny story.
Oh, no.
So I got an order in from my supplier for Jacquard dyes, and I opened up the one box, and it was an orange, and there was powder everywhere. I was getting it everywhere. So what do? You go and you grab a wet towel, and you go like this. I'm like, holy crap.
Everywhere.
There was just, this is how inexperienced I am with powder dyes. I had it everywhere. And I'm like, what the heck? I'm never going to get this cleaned up. So I finally got it, pulled out the next jar, same thing, grabbed a wet towel. So Kris comes in and I go, fix it, help. And she goes, oh, watch this. Give me a brush. I had a brush. I had a paintbrush. I had a dry paintbrush. And she comes in, she goes, give me a paintbrush. And I went and I got it, and she goes, it's this easy. I'm like, man, I had such a mess. I mean, it was on my, I'm like, this better come off of my, it was orange.
Listen, I only know that because I've done it.
Right.
I've done it. Every single dyer has opened a jar, and there's that little bit of dye, that little bit of dust that falls, and then it spreads like wildfire. And if ever of you have ever worked in a salon, if you do vivid colors, when you're done with that vivid color, it's on the floor, it's on the chair, it's on the mirror, it's on the cash register. Somehow it's on the sink in the back, it's on the shampoo bowl, it's on everybody else's cabinet, and everybody in that salon is going home with the color of vivid that you did that day. We don't know how it happens. It's like glitter.
That was a fun, I learned a lot that day. But I was like, so which jars broke? It wasn't broke, it's just that there was extra.
It was just excess from the manufacturer.
Excess.
Somebody probably had,
yeah,
when they were pulling the bottles out, it's probably on the hands, and it just transferred. But it's that easy to transfer.
So every time I open up a box, I look first to see if there's any powder everywhere. But now I know what to do to fix it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So one of the other things that's important to have is you need a mordant when you're dyeing, and people have their preferences. This is citric acid. I know, not in a box, but this I have had the same bag of citric acid since 2017.
Which was our first dye class.
Oh wait, on my birthday. Oh, isn't that special? All right, so there you go. So some people do citric acid, and I might use that very infrequently.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my favorite. I just think it causes dye to strike differently.
Well, that, because it does have a different chemistry, but it also keeps your house from smelling like a pickle factory.
Oh, it does. And then white vinegar. This is an empty bottle. I brought this for 2 reasons.
And just so you know, this is the acid that we use when we do the workshops here in the store.
Yes.
Because I don't want the store to smell like vinegar.
Yes, and my whole house reeks of it at times. But so I use just distilled white vinegar, and I get it in big gallons of it, except when they run out and I have to get the little one. However, the gallon bottles, when you're done, I save them because I use them when I have to dye rovings. Mm-hmm. I need to mix up big batch, like big, not this. I need a lot of dye because I'm dyeing a lot of fiber. So I will mix up big batches. Other stuff?
What do you want?
You know what? Get that big.
This one?
Yep. So things like this is like a horse water bin or a goat water bin from Tractor Supply. This was like $10. So I'm going to show you. This is a thing. Also from Tractor Supply, like $4 or $5. And this was from GFS. This was not $4.
No.
These are like $24. These 3 bins when I'm dyeing are my life, okay? You have to soak your fibers, soak your yarns, and you have to soak them before you can dye them. You have to soak them after you've dyed them. And you need a place where they can be loose and free and not a little tiny bowl that I'm trying to shove 3 skeins of yarn in. You know? I soak anywhere from probably 3 to 8 skeins of yarn after the fact.
Depending on the yarn.
In one like this. This is my pre-soak bucket, and I have 5 of these. And each one of these I do 20 skeins in. And they soak.
Full skeins?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And what do you do with this one?
So that is my new after soak bucket.
Okay.
Because I found it after the fact. I like this because when I fill it with my after soak, I've got my water and my vinegar and my wash in there.
Mm-hmm.
After I've rinsed my skeins, I don't know. Something about this one, it's easier for me if I need to move it, because when you're holding a rectangular tray, I tend to be covered in water. Let's be honest. I look like I went swimming half the time I dye.
This is probably easier to manage.
This is easier for me to manage, and I just like with the depth of it, instead of where that long tray, like I said, like 3 to 6, maybe 8 skeins, I can put 15 skeins in this to soak all at the same time.
Right.
And I like that. So soaking trays, soaking bins, very, very, very important. And then the things that we use to actually dye. So restaurant supplies, you can find them like 4 inches deep. I have some that are about 3 inches deep.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be honest, I dye a ton of yarn, but I don't have a ton of these. I mean, because you only have so much space you can use at one time. I have four pots, and then I have the shorter ones, which is a whole different process. But I do have the half pans. I would say, unless you're going to do a lot of this, don't mess with the half pan. Just get one tray and you're good. But so these are great for dyeing skeins. And then the kettles that you dye in are very important.
You want this one?
Yeah.
Oh, those are the same.
Yeah, those are the same. So, yeah, way different, right? But they each serve their purpose. You know, remember, sometimes we're dyeing yarn, sometimes we're dyeing fiber, sometimes we want to dye 7 skeins of yarn all the same color. Sometimes we only want to dye 3. So why waste the water if you only need this much water? So different pans for different purpose. You need strainers. They're important. I have this one. I've used it once. This guy, I love him.
The collapsible one.
Because he sits in my sink so nicely. It just does.
It's up out of the water more than this one.
Yes. So water can travel underneath it. I got this at Target almost 11 years ago, because this used to be at the salon and I stole it from the salon.
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't need it anymore, because we don't do any more perms.
There you go.
Yeah. So I love this collapsible one because it saves me room in my art room, which God forbid, like, I need to get in that barn. And then the last thing that I'm really going to show you as far as tools, if you are not dyeing in your kitchen where you have your stovetop, this is a simple Coleman camping stove. Opens up. Butane is your friend. However, it is also expensive. So, I'm going to tell you, if you are going to dye on one of these stoves and you are going to invest the money in butane, you are going to go through one of those cans of butane if you are constantly on it and you don't know how to manage temperature, because some people just turn it on and leave it on. You're going to go through one of those cans in about 4, maybe 5 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
That can get expensive.
It gets very, very, very expensive. I will say that when we did the weekend, my daughter and I with Natalie Redding, we had to buy all of our stuff to take with us. And I'm telling you, we spent a few $100 a person, because I'm one of those, I'm over prepared. I'd rather have everything as a just in case. We did, I think each day was an 8-hour day, and probably at least 5 hours of each day was dyeing, and we probably went through 4 cans a piece. So it can get expensive. It is a way to dye until you find a better option. So those are there. Mine are going to be hooked up to gas when you come to the class. So we will not be using butane. It's direct line into gas for everybody's individual workspace. Here, I'm going to, oh, thank you. I'm going to show you just real quickly. Oh, wait, the last thing you need is an apron.
Oh, yeah.
Unless you want dye all over your clothes.
Or clothes you don't care about.
Or clothes you don't care about. I have an apron. This is not the one I use because do you see how clean that is? Yeah, the one I use has Christmas trees and it has 7,000 different colors on it. But everybody, you should wear an apron. Don't go buy clothes every 5 days because you dyed all over them.
So what else do we need to show people?
I want to just show these different yarns real quick. So when you go from the solids and the tonals, we get into some variegated work. And all of these are different techniques. Mm-hmm. Like when you look at them, you're like, oh, that's pretty. Well, all of these are different techniques in variegateds. And then when you get into, this is not really a variegated, but this is some more single color work and tonal work, just with different techniques. So these are also future classes that I will be teaching, how to get a good variegated, how to do some pattern work within your dyes. Those classes will, hopefully I'll get my schedule together by the end of April for the summer and get it up on the website and on the Blue Fiber Tree and on alk&me's page. At some point this summer,
roving.
We'll be dyeing some roving. That will be fun. This was some alpaca. It was a lot of fun, but I will teach you how to dye roving, and that is a completely different technique. I do not use the kettle. No microwaves, no kettles. It's kind of an indirect heat source, and it allows me to dye rovings and top without felting it, and that's very important because I hate hearing spinners go,
"It's felted."
It's felted. And then other techniques you can do in the kettle, you can do dyed locks right here. So, and this was playing. I was trying something that didn't work and I felted a piece of it, but still pretty and fun and can be used for something.
You can use it for needle felting too.
You can.
One last thing there, that pretty little piece right next to you.
Now, so if you get into dyeing, like, I dye finished products as well. And again, I'm not going to tell you my secret. You'll have to take the class. But this was not dyed before. This was dyed after the fact. And it was a lot of fun. I have wall hangings as well that are dyed after the fact. And that'll be a future class that is not this summer.
But you might see some of these pieces at a future fiber show that she will be attending. Yes. So keep your eye out on that. But I do know that these are also up on her website for sale.
They are. They're up on my website. So today, basically, I just wanted to give you, I know it was a long video, and I'm sorry, but I just want to make sure that everybody had an understanding of the tools that you need if you're really going to dive down the rabbit hole and dye. It's a lot, but it's fun.
Yep.
And the best part about it, like when you take the dye class in June, I say when because you're all going to want to take it. You're not just coming in and walking out with 2 skeins of yarn. We do 5 skeins because I want you to have enough to at least get a good project's worth of yarn out of that, you know. I haven't decided yet whether we're going to use a DK weight or a sock. Yeah, I don't know yet. I gotta think. Well, that's that part. You're at least getting 5 skeins of yarn. I just don't know what 5 skeins.
Right.
The class is $150. And I do require that it's paid prior to the day of the class. spaces are limited. I think I have 3 that I've talked to that are interested.
Yep.
So that probably leaves about 7 spaces left. I hope some more people sign up. If you have any questions about where to get supplies for dyeing, hopefully you will find most of those links in the comments below. Jeannine does absolutely carry the jacquard dyes. She carries the fiber wash and rinse. You might be out of, but I know you carry it. The unicorn
I
wash.
have to get some more. Yep.
And the eucalyptus. Do you have the
eucalyptus
eucalyptus too? Yes. So she has that. If you have any questions at all, reach out.
Yep.
Like and subscribe to our page today.
Absolutely. So, when this goes up, share with your friends, watch it, subscribe, like. Any comments, please. We appreciate comments because that let us know that we're doing the right thing here and we're in the right direction.
Absolutely.
This is more Kris than me, but longtailknits.com.
That's how the felting was.
alk&me.com,
like the felting was your thing and this one was my thing.
alk&me.com. She has her Facebook page, and then you're going to find it on the Blue Fiber Tree, on the YouTube channel, and also on the Facebook page. So yeah, check it out. Fun, new, exciting. Hopefully this is going to be her career now, because
I know. I'm getting there.
She's getting there. It's time to move, and this is a great transition from coloring hair, coloring fiber.
Absolutely.
And it just moved over, and it was a perfect fit for her.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
One of the things I didn't mention, if you're going to take any of the dye classes after this first intro to kettle dyeing, at the beginning of it I said we're taking that foundations class. Every single class I teach has that class before it, so you don't have to take the foundations class once you've already had it, but that is the first hour of every class that I teach, because I don't want anybody to miss it.
If you want to do it a second time,
you're more than welcome, because it's part of the class. But just so you know, like, there are times, like, if you want to be there for the full 6 hours, you can come, but once you've done that for the solid and the tonals class, if you come out to do the variegated class or
any of the roving
or the roving classes, you would more, you could show up at 11 instead of 10. Just so you know, you don't have to repeat that part of my class, but it is mandatory that you have had foundations to take any of my dye classes.
Yep.
All right, so thank you so much for your time. Again, I'm sorry I ran so long, but we're talking about my favorite thing in the whole entire world.
And it's a lot of stuff to cover.
It is.
And it's just barely scratching the surface. So you guys have a great day.
Absolutely.
Have fun, and we look forward to seeing each and every one of you soon.
We'll talk to you in April.
Well, absolutely, April.
Bye.